All right, everybody, welcome to another live stream. Give me just a moment. I'm going to turn off my phone so there's no potential for interference with that. All right, so tonight we are going to start looking at some shell scripting, and we're going to look at a couple things, and we're going to actually start going through and working to build something. So, everything we do here tonight should work on Linux. If you're using the Bash shell, if you're using Mac OS, again, the beginning of the script will dictate that we want to execute it in Bash. And Windows, in Windows subsystem for Linux, it should work. So let's go ahead and switch over to our terminal. And we'll take a look at a couple things here first. So this is on my Mac. And we'll make this a little bit bigger. And I've got a couple of scripts in here. The install.sh doesn't actually do anything. I think it's something that I started and I never went further with. But we've got a couple others that are sort of minimal shell scripts. So if we can just do cat speedtest.sh. And so here we've got some basic commands. Of course, our first line of a shell script is going to be the shebang, which is the pound sign and the exclamation point. And then we're going to give the path to the terminal emulator that we want to use for this script. Echo. This is just going to put the text between the exclamation points on the screen. We're doing the date command, and we're signaling to have that appended, which is the double greater than. So you're adding it to the end of the file, appended to test.txt. And then we're using an existing command that is on our system, speed test. We're specifying an argument, server ID equals 45529. And then we're going to take the output of that and we're going to put it at the bottom of test.txt. So if we execute this, so /speedtest.sh, it starts the speed test. It has already put that date in the bottom of the test.txt file. And in a moment or two here, it will exit and we'll be able to look at test.txt and see what our new speed test gave us. So, pretty simple stuff so far. So if we do less test.txt, you can see that I've run this a few times before. Okay. So, Tuesday, March 21st, 2023, speed test by Ookla. Server is Stellar Broadband in East Lansing, Michigan. My ISP We've got the idle latency. So we got jitter, low and high. Download, 565.39 megabit per second. Upload, 52.84 megabits per second. And there's also a URL for the results. TVJ, hello. Welcome to the party. You're the only one in the chat so far, so I appreciate you popping in. So it's probably all review stuff for you. I haven't done this in a while, so it's kind of a refresher for me, but it's quickly coming back. All right, so we've looked at our first shell script. Let's see. So the other one I've got in here, we can look at the Rustic backup. Script. And so this is doing an export. So we've got a variable we're setting equal to the value inside the quotation marks. Same thing on that next line. And then we are running the Rustic backup command. And we're not going to run that because I think I've taken down part of what I did with that particular script. So the last example I've got in here is just a simple script again. Again, we're starting with the shebang /bin/bash user variable is being set equal to nobody. And then we are going to say if grep. So we're going to search within the password file for the variable user, which is set to nobody. And if it's found, then we're going to echo it worked. It really worked. Let's run something else. And then it's going to get the disk free in human readable form and echo that to the screen. If it does not find user nobody, it's going to output the username nobody is not valid on this system. So if then else.sh, and so it did in fact work, and this is running on the Mac, so we know that this works on the Mac system. So let's see. We've got Dean. Welcome. Thought this was a video, not a love. Oh, live. No wonder it started randomly. That's a nice internet connection. It's not too bad. I've been much happier with it since I got the new cable modem about a month ago. So it's been really, really rock solid compared to what some of my fellow townspeople might claim in the community group on Facebook. Haven't really done a lot of scripting inside Linux. Yep. So I haven't done a lot in a long time. I've thrown really quick and dirty things together just to scratch an itch type of thing, or to build a backup script, or testing some things out. But as far as doing day-to-day scripting in Bash, I have not touched it in quite some time. So this was really, one of those streams that I wanted it to be useful for the audience, and I wanted it to be a little bit of a refresher for myself. So I'm just looking at an old textbook that I've got, and what I want to do is I want to jump over to the actual Linux system and get logged in here. And I don't think I've got much on this system to speak of. And so I do not have any scripts on this system yet. So, yeah. Let's see. I'm looking at 1 gig symmetric here in the UK, but trying to skill up as best I can on the new FTTP terminology, and the whole NAT and possible network infrastructure upgraded 2.5 gig OpenSense VM. Nice. Nice. I'd just be happy if I could get, even if I had a 250 gigabit download and I had 125 upload, I think I'd be very happy at this point. There's not a lot that I do, since I'm just one person in the apartment, that takes advantage of the 500 gig down, but I had to go to the 500 gig in order to get the upload speed I really wanted. So unfortunately, most ISPs that I've dealt with here in the US are, the upload speed is about 10% of what your download speed is. So it's just one of those things that, every jurisdiction has its quirks, and that just happens to be the quirk that we're stuck with here locally. Okay, so one of the things that I kind of wanted to go over before we get too deep into this, and I do intend this to be at least 2 weeks in a row type of thing. It might run to a third week, depending on the level of interest and feedback that I get from this, but I figure at least this week and next week, and then we'll see if it warrants going further. My ISP is WOW, or Wild Out West. So hopefully allegedly, I guess I should say, in the summer, we're supposed to get fiber locally. So I will at least entertain and talk with somebody from the fiber company and see what kind of pricing they're going to offer. But at this point, I'm probably, since I just bought that new cable modem, I'm probably going to stick with cable. Unless the fiber is at a price that I can't refuse. And then I might grab the fiber connection and keep the cable as a backup temporarily until I'm at the end of the trial period for the fiber. A lot of them give you a 1 year trial at a reduced price just to grab new customers. Your upload stream is actually usable. Yeah, for the most part it is now. When I first tried to stream a couple of years ago, oh man, it was rough. Because I was barely getting 15 meg upload, and it wasn't continuous 15 meg. It was all over the place. So it has improved a lot, I will say. Okay, so we'll do just a simple script here. Um, so we're just going to open it up in Nano, and we're going to just call the script envars.sh. So of course we've got our shebang and then bin bash. So what we really want to do is echo out some of the environment variables that are available by default. And this is an old list, so some of these may not work because this is an old textbook, but there are some interesting environment variables that are built in. So we are going to say echo home. I know that one will work. Echo log name, which is going to be the login name. Let's see. So we're going to do echo PS1 and echo PS2. Some of these you may not see as much anymore. Echo IFS, which is supposed to be the field delimiter symbol. So echo term should give the terminal name back. We can do we covered the pwd command in one of the Linux commands episodes, but there is an environment variable which is old pwd. This is one that I had completely forgot about. Obviously I'd seen it before because I took the class, but just completely was outside my mind. So that is the previous working directory as set by the cd command. So you can also get your user ID. We can see some of these history size. The default, at least at the time of publishing of the book, the default was 500. So other ones that might be interesting for us would be host type. ls type and fc edit. So I think we briefly mentioned the fc command. So this is useful if you have a long command, for instance, a multi-line command that you typed in and there was an error with it. You can use the fc command to open that the previous command up in an editor so you can more easily make changes. And so this environment variable fc edit should spit back the default editor for the fc command. So we'll just do Control X and save that. And so we've got our shell command here, but currently it's not executable. So if we try typing, it's going to give permission denied. So we need to make that executable. By adding the execute bit to that, and then it should spit back what we've asked it for. Now, again, this is a very crude script. It throws everything out to the terminal, and there's not a lot of context. So what we could do, if we want to take this a step further, we could do echo contents of home variable. And so on and so forth. So now if we'd execute it again, at least for the first few commands in that script, we've got headers for that. Enjoy your dinner, Jay. All right, so most ISPs here in the UK are really non-symmetrical too. Luckily, we're being saved by a company investing in smaller, forgotten towns, offering fully symmetrical 100, 250, 500, and 1 gig. Current is 80/20. Nice. But I guess whether you're in the UK or in the US, I think both countries have their fair share of crazy politicians. So, but that's a whole other topic. All right. So there are any number of things that we could do with our script here. For instance, if we wanted to take and open that back up again, So we could finish putting in our context information. Just for good measure. Oops. And then we can play around with this a little bit more. Okay. So if we execute that now, we are actually able to see which of these actually have something in the environment variable and which do not. So again, some of these, being working from an old textbook, I am not surprised that they don't work on a modern system. So our terminal is xterm 256 color. Got our user ID. Hist size does not have anything set currently, so it should default to 500. We are running an x86-64, and it is Linux-GNU, and fcedit does not have anything set in it. So we could take this, and as the script is currently set up, it is going to display to the screen if we don't give it any other information. Doing the double ampersand, we can send it to nvars.txt, and then we can do cat nvars.txt, again giving us the same information that we had previously seen output directly to the screen. So there are other fun little things we could do with a script. So if we open this up, all right, so we can set things up another way. Again, this is going to be a demonstration as the previous example was. This is sequential logic. So everything is going to be executed in the order that it is presented in the file. So if we were to use this little example here, let A equals 1, let B equals 2, let C equals 3, let total equals A plus B plus C, echo total. And if we execute that, then we've got 6. 3 plus 2 plus 1 is 6. And that's all in good. But what if we want to have some sort of logic in our script? So we can do, we'll create the file. We're going to set it to executable right even before we type the file. All right, and then okay, so again, we start with the echo command. We're going to do -n, and we are going to give a prompt. We're going to add a space after the question mark, and then close the quotes. We're going to read, which is going to get input or wait for input from the user into OS name. And then this is where our logic comes in. If square bracket close the square bracket, then echo else echo and to end the if else in a bash script, you type fi, which I know seems kind of weird, but that's the way it's done. And then if we execute OS choice, what is your favorite operating system? I'm going to say Ubuntu. You should give Linux a try. Well, obviously, actually, when this book was written, Ubuntu didn't exist, and Ubuntu was not the string that was tested for in our if then else statement. So you may want to have this say instead of Unix, you might want this to say Ubuntu. And then if we rerun OS choice and if we enter Ubuntu, you will like Linux. Well, Ubuntu is a variant of Linux. But what if we run this again and we type Ubuntu lowercase? And so why does that happen? Well, as we have seen in our Linux command series, Linux is case sensitive. So our script here has Ubuntu with just the U capitalized. So generally you get one test in an if then else statement. Again, this is a generality. You can do what is called nesting. So you can put another if then else inside the existing structure, or you can look at other logic structures, which we may get to yet tonight, depending on how things go. So let me skip ahead a little bit, and we can look at another example. So let's see. This little example. All right. So we've got echo-n. Enter your favorite color with a colon, space after that, and close our quotes. And we're going to do a semicolon, and then we're going to say read color. So on a single line, we are displaying a prompt, and we are reading input from the user. We're going to say case quote, and we're going to read the color variable in blue in quotes. Oops. And then we're going to say echo as in my blue heaven. And we're going to end that with a double semicolon. Yellow. Echo as in the yellow sunset. Red, oops. Echo as in Red Rover, Red Rover. And then orange. Autumn has shades of orange. If I can type tonight. And again, we are ending each line with the double semicolon. And then to end the case statement, we type case backwards, ESAC. And if you did that correctly, at least using Nano, it will have the colors highlighted appropriately. We will exit that. save it and run many colors. And we'll say red. Run it again. Blue. Red, yellow. Orange. And then if we type teal, we found a problem. It doesn't tell us anything after teal. So I forgot a line. So we come back down here. We will put in just an asterisk and then our bracket or right parenthesis. And we will say echo, sorry, I don't know that color. And now if we do, teal, it's going to say, sorry, I don't know that color. So, all good there. Now, just as a little diversion, what if you don't necessarily want to use Nano to edit your scripts? Well, if you're on a Linux system that has a graphical interface, or if you're on Mac OS, for instance, again, not Linux, but has a lot of the same underpinnings as far as the way it operates. Not that the code is the same, but a lot of similarities in the way it operates under the hood. So we could come over to the Snap Store and grab a copy of VS Codium. And I know not everybody's a fan of snaps, but it is what it is. This is an Ubuntu system. I tend to like Flatpaks for graphical applications myself, and snaps more on the server side because, let's face it, app images and Flatpaks were not built with servers in mind. They're built with desktop applications in mind. So we could then run VS Codium. And close the welcome, and then we can do a new text file. And then we can type in our next example here. And we can say loop test equals y. And I do understand this is harder for people to read. Appearance. Zoom in. Do that so it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so loop test equals yes. And so we're going to use a loop while we're going to do left square bracket, and it actually completes that for us. And in quotes, we're going to have we're going to test loop test to see if it equals y. Oh, y without quotes. And we're going to say do. And to end do, it's done. And then we'll come in between those and we will say echo -n, enter name. And say read name. Echo, enter street. Read street. Enter city. Enter state. Obviously, this is a US-centric textbook. Enter read zip. Yes or no. Read loop test. Okay, so we're starting off with the loop test variable set to y. And so when we start our loop, it's testing to see if it's set to y, which the first time through, it always will be. And then it's going to do the lines in between do and done. It's going to ask for the name, street, city, state, and zip code. And then it will ask if you want to continue. And then it comes back up here to the while statement and test to see whether loop test is still set to y. Pretty simple. So we actually need to do a save as, and we're going to call this loopy.sh. And if we come over to the terminal and make that executable, oh, and we've got a problem. Line 4 has a missing right bracket. So we can come back here. Line 4. That does in fact have a right bracket. And so maybe it's try that again. And it needed the space. Don Jones, 123 Elm Street. And if we say no, it's going to go ahead and exit for us. So, just a little bit of background. Some of these are things that you'll build on when you make more elaborate shell scripts. Hi, Dave. Welcome to the live stream. Yep, I figured that out when I opened it back up and looked at it. Um, just a minor typo when doing a live stream. You know, you got to have at least one. But um, if I was really facetious, I could say, well, I did that on purpose so it would be a learning moment for everybody. But hey. um, all right, so we're 51 minutes in. Does anybody have questions so far? We've looked at a few things tonight and done a few scripts that are more or less out of the textbook. I've made a few minor changes as I've been typing them in. But this is, just sort of a nice little introduction to shell scripting to give people a little bit of an idea of what you can do with it. Now, taking some of the very basic examples, you may not use all of what we've done tonight, but you can take some of that, especially, for instance, the echo commands, and you may very well want to use that when you are doing, for instance, a backup script that is a little bit more complex. You may want to log some of the timestamp information to a file so that you know how long your backup took to complete. Things of this nature that, is really taking the components that we've been working with tonight and adding to them in such a fashion that you can make something that's a little more elaborate. Let's see. You're faster at the draw. I stumbled across the stream. Love bash scripting. Well, I'm glad to have you. I've done bash scripting over the years. I've been using Linux for 25 plus years at this point. And I haven't used bash scripting for very much in quite some time. So I thought this would be a good topic to explore, and hope that if nothing else, and this goes back to my time tutoring programming students when I was at the university, but I would always tell people that, especially if they weren't IT or computer science majors, I would always tell people that if you get nothing else out of a programming course, then at least walk away with an appreciation for what programmers do on a daily basis. And I tutored one young lady who was pre-law, so she was a very smart young woman, and she was having just a difficult time grasping fully the logic and how to structure things. And so the challenge was just, trying to put it in terms that she could understand and take something away from. And, even though my background is IT, and here in the U.S., that's actually looked down upon by those that are majoring in computer science. But you'd be surprised at the number of computer science first year students that I ended up tutoring. And, you know, the majority of them walked away with a decent grade at the end of the class. Oops. My mouse was on the wrong screen. So, you know, I I've enjoyed my time doing that type of work. You know, tutoring programming students, and at the time that I went back to finish my degree, I was several years older than the students I was tutoring. So maybe that helped in my case. But you know, it was great to be able to change their perception of what really goes into programming. And you know, it's funny because when you think of the way things have changed since I finished my undergraduate degree, which was 2008, I graduated. The way things have changed and the technologies that have been introduced that have your everyday person that doesn't have a background in comp sci or IT even, they are getting into automation, and they may not always realize that when they are stringing these commands together, even if it's in a graphical form, they are doing programming. And yes, there are going to be haters out there that will say, oh, well, that's not real programming. But at the fundamental level, it really is. So, yeah, this gives us just a little bit of an introduction here tonight. Let me see if there's another program that might be interesting here. A couple in here, a couple examples in here. I'm not sure will run without some modifications, so I don't want to try those quite yet. But we could do a part 2, and that would be a great use for some of these, because then I can type some of the stuff up between now and then, and then we can go through and pick it apart and perhaps make modifications. So for those of you out there who are either in the chat live or watching live but may not have joined the chat for whatever reason, wink wink nudge nudge, it doesn't hurt to hit that subscribe button. You only have to be subscribed for 5 minutes to be able to join everybody else in chat. So, and it helps the channel. But you know, if nothing else, leave me a comment after the live stream is over with and let me know what you might like to see in a follow-up video that, or follow-up live stream, whichever it ends up being, that goes into some more detail in bash scripting. We've really only scratched the surface, and there's a lot more you can do with it. And really, having even just a little bit of background in bash scripting will pave the way for moving on to something that could be more interesting to you, such as Python scripting, which has a huge number of libraries and components that you can leverage to create larger and more interactive and fully featured programs out of them. Having a little bit of a background in bash scripting also gives you some basis for moving on to something like Ansible, which is used more for automating configuration changes on multiple machines in a repeatable fashion. And so, having just the slightest understanding of something like bash can open up a world where, hey, I can do this. It's really not that difficult. And, compared to, like I've said before, 25 years ago when I was getting started with Linux, there are so many examples out there now that you can grab copies of from GitHub, for instance, and modify that code and play with it and break it and fix it. It's a whole different world compared to the sort of dark ages that I originally found myself using Linux in. So just to give you a little bit of an idea there. And look who we've got here. We have got the man himself, Joe. I'm already at the 1 hour and 2, almost 3 minute mark. If you're late, do I still get my full JAU? And it's okay that you're late. I won't hold it against you this time. Dinner's done. Still want to see that super micro video. Yep, I've captured some footage. I've just got to get it from the video camera onto the computer because I'm doing that video just a little bit different. So I got to make sure that footage is usable, and that's likely going to be just a voiceover type video looking at that. I want to script installs for things like Nextcloud since I don't want to use Docker or Snap packages. That's fair. That's fair. Oops. Let's see. I put my mouse on the right screen. Just out of curiosity, let's see. Installation and server configuration. There might be an existing script out here. There's an installation wizard. No, that's not it. That's after you get it installed. Let's see. Installation via install script. So they've got an installation script here. No, we don't want to do that. Yeah, so out here on GitHub, actually, and it does have the 2023 copyright, so yeah, this could be kind of fun. Let's see. Do you think AI will eliminate the need for most people to know scripting? Not in the short term, but I could see somewhere down the road where it could very well eliminate for a lot of basic things. So I'm not sure if it'll completely eliminate it, at least not anytime soon, but it's certainly possible at the rate in which the different AI technologies are developing. I love that someone publishes and updates the Zen Orchestra install since you have to compile that from source. Yes. That was one of the things that I did not like about Zen Orchestra. But I also understand why they choose to do that. So, yeah, it is what it is. I just I really should give XCPNG and Zen Orchestra another try at some point, and maybe I'll reconfigure some things around the lab and free up a machine so I can do that. But yeah, it was just I found it to be time consuming. At least at the last time I looked at Zen Orchestra, it was developing at such a pace that it was hard for me to keep it up to date because of everything that was going on and the rate at which they were releasing updates. So, but yeah, this install script for Nextcloud is kind of interesting because it uses some of the things that we have talked about in tonight's live stream. You've got your if then, and actually a nested if then structure. We've got variables that are being declared here, and you'll see in various places where those will be checked for. So, really, this is not terribly complex compared to some of the things that we've already done tonight. So the thing that I've always wanted to do with Nextcloud is to start from the install script and replace portions of it with Ansible scripts. And I think that could be an interesting thing to do just because of the extra logic and things that are built into Ansible that could make this a little more streamlined, because we are only halfway down the script, so we're probably looking at over 1,000 lines of code for an install script. Yeah, 1,097 lines of code. And I do just wonder if this could be, like I said, streamlined down. Um, for instance, where they are, oh, this is quite a ways up, where they are installing um, this whole section here. That could easily be replaced with a short Ansible script, because Ansible will only install something if it is not already installed, and it would be quite easy to do this, at least this section. And granted, that's only what, 7 actual lines of code because there's one comment selected there. But it does make you wonder what else could be streamlined down. Now, the potential issue with starting from their install script and converting it to Ansible is that every time they release a new version of Nextcloud and or update this install script, you might have to rework your Ansible script. So, again, it's just one of those things. I've also thought about taking the install script for Fog and transforming that, at least in part, into an Ansible script. So it's just a matter of me making time to do these projects if it comes down to, when it comes down to it. So, but I think this is a good stopping point. Next week, since we've touched a little bit on some things tonight, I'm hoping that I can just push through and go a little bit faster next week. So, let's see. That's why I love the script. Easy updates. Love XCPNG because of the built-in backup tool and how easy it is to use. Yeah, I don't think that was there when I used it, but this was a few years ago at this point. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with the backup facility and running a backup Proxmox backup server on an extra machine here, which has been rock solid for me. So I found a unified controller script that was over 600 lines. I made a batch file to do it in 8 lines. Wow. Gotta run. Talk soon. See you later, Joe. So, all right. Well, apparently I've scared everybody away with my rambling now. So, unless anybody that is still sticking around has questions, I think this is probably a good time to wrap up the stream for this evening. I will have midweek news out tomorrow. I'm not sure how many huge stories there will be, but I will find something. It's been kind of a slow news week, at least as far as things that have been catching my eye. So, give it another minute or two to see if any questions pop up, and then I will, if they do, I'll address those, and then we'll wrap up the stream, and everybody can go on and enjoy their Tuesday evening. It hit 53 degrees here in Michigan today, so I was very happy to see that. Unfortunately, I only saw it briefly when I was coming out of work. So, all right, you have a good night as well, Jay, and we will see everybody soon. Thank you all for watching. And if you haven't already, please give a thumbs up to the stream and consider subscribing to the channel if you're not currently in the chat. And that way next week you can ask questions and participate with everybody else. So have a good night, everybody.